So about the Beyond the Asterisk reading, I think this is a really, important piece of literature that states very prevalent issues, but these issues are not really well known. Especially in a case of someone like me, the average student doesn't wake up and think, oh, how are Native Americans or Asian Americans or African Americans, how are their retention rates in high school or college, stuff like that. And I think that's because to common people, it's not seen as a problem. It's not seen as a dire situation. And that ignorance is because the lack of knowledge and understanding of Native American issues and culture and beliefs and practices and social structures. So a piece of literature like this is really important because it states this is a problem. These are the facts, and these are the steps we should or need to be taking to solve the said problem. And about the whole American Indian research asterisk, not being represented in research or data, it's definitely complete BS, because even if it is a low number like 1%, 1% is still a number, and we know that 1% is increasing. So how do we see that increase if it was not represented in the first place? So addressing some of the solutions presented, I definitely agree with the emphasis on increasing Native faculty and staff. I think there's a quote that states it perfectly. So Native faculty serve as activists, advocates, and change agents in post-secondary institutions and their disciplines by challenging dominant, racist, and discriminatory scholarships, practices, and perceptions, by stimulating research in indigenous issues, by developing and infusing curriculum that is inclusive of Native perspectives and scholarship, by assisting colleges and universities in recruiting and retaining Native students, and through networking with Native organizations. So I definitely agree with, bringing in people who are more knowledgeable and understand and, are passionate about Native students. That's important, but I also feel like there's a whole nother side. It's educating those who are not, knowledgeable. And that's current students, faculty, staffs, professors. It really baffles my mind and kind of frustrating that, something like, so many people can name the exact date when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed and the slaves were freed, but do people know about, the Crow Creek Massacre or the whole kill the Indian, save the man, with the goal of, removing and replacing, Native culture? And if our education system is not properly teaching Native history, because we're embarrassed or something, how do we move forward and approach current problems or bigger problems? And kind of like a side note to that, I read that in Germany, they really emphasize and focus on teaching about, the Nazi era and kind of what happened during that time, with the whole goal of, prevention in the future. But anyways, I think once we identify and address that, this is a problem and this is, prevalent, similar to what Beyond the Asterisk, the reading, is doing, I think once we're able to do that and kind of spread the word, then we'll be able to address it properly. And moving on to how I can be an agent of change in higher education, I think as a student at the University of Arizona, I can affect the campus climate and how Native students perceive the University of Arizona and how their culture is being presented in the University of Arizona. And that's spreading the word and being a part of different events that promote Native American culture. Also, being a part of Native SOAR, I can impact high school students or middle school students to think about higher education, to change that status quo. So next is, what do I think about how success is measured in the data sets presented? And initially someone looking at the data sets shows that Native Americans are underrepresented or have a lower than average. So off the bat, it seems someone could misinterpret it saying Native Americans aren't smart or they don't care about higher education. And we know that's not true. These data sets are not an accurate representation of success. because there is so many confounding variables or, contributing factors. And that, all loops around into educating about those, factors and variables that people don't know about. So in closing, I think the whole goal is just to challenge the status quo. I'm really fortunate, to have reading material like this, to be exposed to, Native American experiences and students, problems and issues. And I think that people who have this knowledge and understand and know this problem, it's their or our responsibility to address it. But anyways, sorry for saying so much.